Welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. It's going to be the kids, the young people who are going to save us from the authoritarian Empress known as Kamala Harris. I'm terrified about the prospect of a Kamala Harris pregnancy. The more that I learn about her, nothing is good. Her campaign ads in New York are horrible. The people are still very much on what I like to call the sugar high, but they're going to get diabetes here pretty soon, and we're going to need some insulin in the form of Gen Z rationality. Thank God I've got Link Lauren here. He is a campaign advisor. He is a politico. You follow politics.
Yes.
People try and tap into your expertise because there are a lot of people on TikTok who follow you and hang on every word. I got to talk to you last week on the Will Kane Show.
I know.
Which was so much fun.
We got along like a house on fire. I had to come back.
Exactly right. That I was like, I need to hear more of your view of the world.
Okay.
Especially, it is this crazy time in between conventions. Kamala Harris doesn't have a lot of time to redefine herself. Everything she's done so far, I don't know what she's done of note.
What has she done
people,
ever?
There are people who want her to be in power because they want proximity to power, they want jobs, they want money,
or they
want
hate Trump.
favors, and they hate Trump. That is the other driving force that they're banking on.
I think when you go to Kamala Harris's website, a very telling sign is she has absolutely no policies. Before I came in here, I'm like, let me go look for myself on KamalaHarris.com. You go, you get a pop-up to give money, $50, $100, $200. You exit out of that. It takes you to another form to give money. I click to About Kamala. It gives a little biography. I try and look for a mission. There are no policies whatsoever of how Kamala is going to fix the border, fix immigration. The markets are crashing this week. She can't handle that. So she has absolutely no policies. I think Kamala is just a vessel for the DNC kind of permanent Washington state in a way because, she was given a really big break in her career in 2020 when she was tapped as VP, right? She was horrible in the primary, didn't make it to the Iowa caucus. She got a really big break. Anyone would be happy with that. And then she gets coronated. She doesn't have to do the primary this year.
She may not even have to do a debate.
Exactly.
So Trump's like, I don't want to debate on ABC. I was already on CNN.
Right.
I want to go to Fox News, which is fair.
Have a
CNN debate and a Fox News debate. That is very well balanced.
Exactly.
And she said no to the Fox News debate, which makes her look like a coward.
I want them to do it on Fox because the chances of me getting a ticket are much higher than on ABC.
You and I both.
But no, I actually don't think the debates even matter that much. I mean, we have 24/7 news coverage. We have social media, alternative media, mainstream media. Do we really need to see a debate? I think what we need more than anything right now is a sit-down interview with Kamala Harris. It's been 16, 17, 18 days since she's been coronated. She was coronated on a Sunday afternoon, and no one's gotten to ask her any questions whatsoever.
How did this happen? How do you feel about it?
Right.
Were you expecting this? How long have you known?
Right. Did you lie and cover for Biden and carry water for him for years, even though you knew he was in decline, right? We have a real credibility issue with Kamala Harris because she has lied for Biden. I don't care what she says. Anybody could see the guy wasn't doing well.
But to your point, and it is a really good point, all you have to do is say, at this point, when you said this, and there are plenty of examples of her publicly going, I would say something. The president is fine. Behind closed doors, he's amazing.
Right.
He is a superhero. They should make him an Avenger.
Yes, he's doing cartwheels when you're not looking.
At the same time, all you have to do is find some tape of him stumbling up the steps of Air Force One or, giving a shout out to someone who recently died. It's like, is Jackie here? I don't know. Does someone have a Ouija board?
Yeah, I knew you were going to say Ouija board. Yeah, no. Kamala Harris, she owes us answers. She also owes us answers on the border and a whole host of other issues. I know folks online, they want to debate, was she the border czar? Was she the border madam?
Does it matter?
Who cares? Who cares what the title is? You can get caught up in semantics. She was put in charge of the border. There were articles written about it. Joe Biden said it, January of 2021. She's going to handle the border crisis. And then we've had the worst immigration crisis in American history. No one has gotten to ask her. The only off-script thing she's done was on the tarmac the other night when Evan Gershkovich came home and Paul Whelan, which is great that they came home, but then she sounded like a clown once again talking in circles.
Well, the strategic diplomacy of having a president who's a strategic diplomat is very strategically oriented toward diplomacy. I think we can all agree on that. And it's like, What in the hell are you
And then
saying?
Biden's looking this way. Could you imagine doing a
Biden's
podcast and I'm looking
please
here?
let me wander into traffic right now. Just make this whole thing end. I cannot listen to her anymore.
Yeah, Biden's like, it's way past my bedtime. Kamala's a calamity. I've been calling her an utter calamity for years, and it just
Calamity
keeps getting
Harris.
worse. Yeah, Calamity Harris.
And then but people would say, you're mispronouncing her name. You're slut-shaming her. You can't call her Calamity. It sounds too much like clam.
Kamala somehow has also absolved herself from any of the failures of the Biden-Harris administration. Mike Pence did not get to do that. Mike Pence was lumped in for 4 years with anything Donald Trump did. You can look at Dick Cheney.
They also said, hey, Mike, come up with a vaccine. Operation Warp Speed. That's you. He's like, all right. It's like, vaccine sucked, but we still all got it, didn't we?
Yeah, so like the VP, somehow Kamala has been able to untether herself from Biden's failures and somehow come out as this new shiny object. But it's because the media, 90% of the mainstream media, they're just giving her a pass, right? They're not holding her accountable. I'm sure they're hounding her for interviews, and I'm sure they're trying to work out some deal who's going to get the first one. But she somehow propped herself up as a hot new thing.
No, she's not. She's all they have.
Right.
And she's not Joe Biden, you know, he was such a depressing prospect that literally anything other than that is great news. Would the media be more excited about Michelle Obama if she were dropped in as a nominee?
For sure.
I think they absolutely would.
I think so, right.
Because she's a more substantive person, and she also at least tries to appear like she's bridging a divide. And there are a lot of moms who identify with her, and she's a much better communicator than Kamala Harris, who's a horrible communicator.
I feel like Michelle Obama has no interest in ever going back to the White House. She wants to be an Oprah. She doesn't want to be a politician, and I don't blame her at all.
I would be on Nantucket with my private yoga
being
instructor.
Wealthy now, going paddleboarding.
Yes.
She just wants
drinking my AG1, overlooking my $20 million view.
No, exactly. She has no interest. She's like, Barack, I am not going back. But the thing about Michelle Obama is I don't follow her that closely, but her favorability has always been incredibly high. Kamala Harris, she was at 28% a couple years ago. Her favorability has been terrible. But then again, favorability doesn't mean that much. When I was on the Kennedy campaign, we had the highest net favorability of any candidate, and yet our polling was kind of stagnant or sloped down a little bit. So people will vote for someone they don't love or they don't find favorable.
Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
Is RFK Jr. still in the race?
He's technically still in the race. I know I'm going to get flack from this, for the Kennedy supporters who follow me and watch me. I'm just calling it like I see it. They have no public events. He hasn't really held events in several months unless they're on the water. He likes to go sailing. He was hosting a clam bake.
He was at Freedom Fest in July when I hosted.
Yes,
and it was a packed room.
For sure.
And he actually gave a very, very solid speech.
That's totally his wheelhouse. I feel anything Freedom Fest related is so his wheelhouse.
Before, the Trump assassination attempt.
Right, and then he went to Milwaukee, and no one knows why. But he's hosting events on sailboats, and then he's hosting a celebrity cruise coming up. I know some of the celebrities have dropped out. I think it might be him and Cheryl, which is fun.
They're very famous.
Which is fun. They're very famous. So it's a celebrity cruise. And I just wish they would do some rallies, or he would go speak to the needs of everyday Americans.
I don't think his vote percentage will be that much lower.
Right.
Because anyone who's voting for him is grudge voting.
They're double haters.
It's one of the double haters. Yeah. Exactly right. And they hate Trump. They can't stand Harris.
Right.
And they're like, our country has to be better than these choices.
Exactly. And on Real Clear Politics, I think he's at 5-point-something% this morning, which is pretty darn good. I mean, Jill Stein's at 1%.
Joe Jorgensen got in 2020.
Exactly. So he does have the power to sway the election in some of these battleground states. We'll have to see what happens. But I don't know if either of the camps are looking for Kennedy endorsement. I don't think Trump is hungry for Kennedy endorsement right now, really, to be honest. But I hope they go out and do some campaigning.
If he were going to endorse, it would be much more likely to be Trump.
Yeah, I mean, how could the DNC... I think he would endorse the DNC if they gave him the promise of some type of role or some type of spot. But his chances seem much higher with Trump.
No, he wouldn't get in line.
Yeah.
And that's what the Democrats want. Right. They just want people to get in line, to line up behind them.
Right.
And, shame on all the wusses who did that. The Gavin Newsoms and the Gretchen Whitmers and the Josh Shapiros who didn't at least try to have some sort of a contest.
Well, now Josh Shapiro is trying to walk back his support for Israel. He's like, that was 20 years ago. What are you talking about? They're trying to capitulate to the far left progressive wing of the Democrat Party. The pro-Palestine protesters. Those people really aren't that likely to show up and vote anyway. Even if you say everything,
really good point.
Even if you say everything they like on November 5th, they're going to be like, nah, you're a warmonger, genocidal, monster, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to show up, right? Their rhetoric, they protest.
Genocide Joe.
Right, Genocide
You're
Joe.
part of the problem.
Yeah, Kamala Harris, she could choose a VP to try and sway those people. I would focus on getting more of these moderates, people who might have sat out, but they're like, you know what? Let me give you a chance. He seems normal.
Josh Shapiro is one of those people where if you're talking to like apolitical parents who are really mad in Virginia, he's one of those people who go, no, here's like my smart, rational 3-point plan that,
exactly.
Here's how we're going to tame inflation and make education better for your kid.
Right.
They would go, oh, that sounds like
That's what I'm saying.
Guy.
If you find someone,
I've said that they should just invert the ticket and put him at the top of the ticket because when she's vice president, she still gets all the money from the Biden-Harris.
Right. Well, that's what happened on our campaign. We chose a very wealthy VP because we needed ballot access, and she was also very smart. She's a friend of mine. I think Nicole's a riot. But the VP does have a lot of power when it comes to fundraising, keeping the money. I think if they skipped over Kamala, though, they'd be going against everything they preach for years, right? They're all about race and gender. How could the Democrat Party skip over potentially the first woman of color to ever be president and say, no, you're going to be, it's like an episode of Veep, almost.
It is. Like, unfortunately, the next 40 years
are going to be,
it's going to be all Selena.
Right.
And, not the beautiful Latina singer whom we all miss
Rest in
every
peace,
single day.
Rest in peace, Selena.
Too soon, yes. So here we go. What are your predictions? I worry that at this point she's going to win.
Yes, I think it's going to be a toss-up. I think it's going to be razor thin. I think if either candidate loses, Harris or Trump, the onus is going to be on them, right? You can blame Kennedy and say he spoiled it for us like Hillary did with Jill Stein in 2016. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you aren't speaking to the needs of those voters and winning them over, the blame is on you. And I know some people don't want to hear that. I think Kamala Harris has a high chance of winning because she's not really battle tested and she just has to make it the next 90 so days.
Yes.
She doesn't really have to do all that much. She's
going to try and do
controlled.
the 2020 campaign from the basement plan.
Right, exactly.
Make it seem like she's out and about.
Right, and
with
she
Megan
shows
Thee
up.
Stallion and
Yeah, she gives her speeches, she smiles, she's happy.
they're short, confined speeches. There's no
Very
spontaneity
short
at
and
all.
confined. Yes, exactly. No surprise special guest. She's got an opening act, but no surprise guest. She comes out 20 minutes, gives you a little bit of something. It's very pro-abortion. It's all of the things you expect from her, and then she's on to the next spot.
Link Lauren, I want to thank you so much.
Thank you for having
being here.
me.
People can find you on TikTok.
Yes, just Google Link Lauren. It's Link Lauren, and thanks so much. I'm so grateful to be on.
I'll talk to you again before the election.
Oh, I'm sure
You're a
I'll be
dream
back. You
come
can't
true.
get rid of me.
No, I'll take it.
I'm like Kamala. Thank you so much.
This has been Kennedy Saves the World, along with Link Lauren. I'm Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.
Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.